Hey friends, this is episode 136 of the Faith Fitness Joy podcast. Today I am continuing the Creating a Healthy Lifestyle mini-series talking about fueling your body as opposed to dieting. I'm going to walk through some approaches that you can use to get great results and boost your energy. So grab a pen and paper, refill your water bottle, and join me in today's episode of the Faith Fitness Joy podcast. All right. Welcome, beautiful souls, to another fabulous episode of the Faith Fitness Joy podcast. I am your coach and host, Rochelle Renee. And today's episode is episode 136. We are continuing the Creating a Healthy Lifestyle series. This is episode 2 in the series. And today we're talking about fueling your body. So before I dive in, please make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons so that you don't miss future episodes. And thank you so much to all of you who are already subscribed. I really appreciate your continued support. If you aren't already, make sure you subscribe. I have a goal of 10,000 subscribers, and I really need your help to get there. So that would be greatly appreciated if you enjoy the show and you would like to subscribe. Last but not least, everything that I'm covering in this mini series and more is in my recently published ebook. It is called Fit Phoenix 6-Week Slim Down. It's designed to help you kickstart your healthy lifestyle. It is packed with great information, resources, and guidance. It includes all of the workbook materials that I touched on a little bit in last week's episode when I talked about mindset and the importance of kind of laying a solid foundation with regard to mindset whenever you're embarking on any kind of change, and that includes a healthy lifestyle, getting fit, eating better. Let's see. It also has the intuitive whole food eating plan that I'm kind of walking through a little bit about today. It also has weekly meal plans and recipes in there, and it is has a core workout to follow for the 6-week program or the 6 weeks that you're following the book, as well as a bonus booty builder workout, and lots of great value packed in there at a really great price. So grab a copy of that today. You can grab the link in the episode description, or if you follow the link in my bio, it will be the very first link at the top. And you can access it immediately and download the ebook and start with it today if you like. So, and one other thing I wanted to mention today, because I am kicking this off in a couple of weeks, and that is my back to school free 5-day challenge. I am really excited about it. I know if, like me, you are also a mom, you have kids already started school, or maybe they're going to be starting school in the next week or two. And things can get crazy because it's a whole other adjustment, right? As our kids are getting back in school, our schedules change again. We have to get them to school, get them ready, all of this stuff. And especially if your kids are in sports or different activities that pick up with the beginning of the school year as well. So I thought, what a great time to help support other moms out there with their self-care. So I've created a 5-day challenge that is completely free. It's going to be in my private Facebook group. I shared about a post about that a little while ago, so go check that out if you didn't see it yet. And just get into the Facebook group if you're not in it already. There will also be prizes for completing the challenge, and you will get an added entry if you refer a friend for the challenge and get in the Facebook group. So check that out. You don't want to miss it. I am taking all of the stress, all of the thought, all of the work out of it, and I am making it as easy to follow as possible. So all you have to do is follow along with the 5-day plan. It's going to include a workout. So there'll be a 3 days a week kind of a strength training workout. There will be optional cardio that you can do on the off days. It's going to fit in your schedule nicely. It's not going to be like adding tons of time to your schedule. And it's going to give you a boost to help keep you going in all of this craziness with the school schedule. Also going to have meal plans, focusing on really easy, quick meals that you can make, especially dinners. So you and your family can kind of stay on track, eating well and fueling your body, even though schedule might be changing and things might be a little more hectic than normal. And last but not least, it's going to include very simple things you can integrate into your day without a ton of time necessary, things you can very easily add in that's going to help manage your stress and keep your stress levels in check, because we really don't want to increase our stress since it often counters our efforts with regard to health and wellness. So that was the other announcement I wanted to make before diving into today's topic. And so all that being out of the way now, let's go ahead and dive in today. So as I mentioned, this is the second episode in the Creating a Healthy Lifestyle mini-series that I'm doing. And today is all about food, specifically fueling your body as opposed to dieting. Last week, I kicked the series off with Mindset Matters Most, because it does. So check out episode 134 if you missed that, or even just to refresh on it. It doesn't hurt to listen to it again because it is really important. And as a quick refresher, there are three primary components to fitness or a healthy lifestyle. Let's say healthy lifestyle, because fitness, I feel like it takes our minds to like just exercise, and it's not just about that. So the three primary components: mindset, nutrition, and exercise. And I've organized the content of this mini series in that order. And there's a reason for that, and that's because it follows the level of importance. I started off last week with mindset because mindset is the most important, even though it's often understated in the context of fitness and exercise and even nutrition. But it's really the most critical thing. It's going to be, it is the make or break thing. So I have said it before and I will say it again. Fitness is 100% mindset, 80% what you eat, and 20% exercise. For whatever reason, it seems like many people's perceptions is that it's like 90% exercise and 10% food, and mindset is hardly mentioned or thought of at all. And I've certainly fallen into that trap over the years myself. In fact, for a long time, I was very focused on exercise, thinking that that was like the magical thing, and it didn't really matter like what I ate as long as I exercised. So that is not true. So I also discussed mindset last week, and I will just say when it comes to fitness, you really need to keep, mindset again is really important. I'm not going to go back into everything, but I will just recap kind of these core takeaways with regard to mindsets that are going to be really important as you move along with creating your healthy lifestyle. So the first thing is motivation. This is also what I call your why. So when I talk about clarifying your why, determining your why, that's what I'm talking about. The second thing is affirmation. This is how you talk to yourself and talk about yourself. So it's, the things you say to yourself and the things you say about yourself, and you want that to be uplifting and positive and, affirming for yourself rather than tearing yourself down or being critical. You also need direction. This is your intentions and goals. So if you don't know why you're doing something, if you don't know what you intend to do, and you don't know where you're going, it's just going to be a heck of a lot harder than it needs to be. And then last but not least is integrity or commitment. So it's all for naught if you aren't making the commitment to yourself and doing what you say that you're going to do for yourself. The more you put into this, all of these mindset related things up front and throughout, the further you're going to get, hands down. And without these mindset aspects, you are only going to get so far. And I mean, 30 years of experience here when it comes to this. I have lived it. I continue to live it. So this is why I emphasize it so much. And as I've mentioned in the past as well, this is the secret sauce that has kept me showing up for myself for over 8 years now. No matter how sidetracked I get, no matter if I get, stuck at a certain weight and I'm not seeing the progress that I want for a while, or if I gain some weight back, or I go off a track a little bit with my food or something, It's been an up and down journey for me. It's not perfect, it's not linear. However, I have continued to show up consistently every day for myself for the past 8 years, and I do not intend to stop doing that. And it is because I apply all of these things I'm talking about when it comes to mindset and everything I'm going to be going over today when it comes to nutrition. So once you have your mindset, those foundations set in that regard, namely why you're doing it, your intentions, your goals, and that commitment for yourself. The second thing that's going to be really important, where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, is nutrition. If you get the nutrition locked in along with mindset, the exercise is not going to be as make or break, I guess. Like you could get great results without exercise if you're really locked in on the nutrition. There's other benefits to exercise that I would never advise that you don't exercise, but I guess I'm just trying to help hammer home the importance of nutrition, and the way that you eat when it comes to this, because there's another saying in the fitness world that you cannot out exercise a bad diet, and that's very true. So the other thing I wanted to get into a little bit about this before kind of diving into some of the nutritional approaches, or the approaches for fueling your body, is to get away from this idea of dieting, right? And now I know we hear terms like, what does your diet consist of? What kind of diet do you follow? And that can mean different things. Sometimes it's simply the composition of the things you eat day to day. And that's not exactly what we're getting at here. I'm talking about like these, diets, like when you go on a diet for the purpose of losing weight, right? And there's a number of reasons I really hate that term, and I don't like and don't recommend going on a diet. So a few of these reasons. Number one, it automatically puts you in a mindset of lack and restriction or punishment. So it leads to the forbidden fruit trap. You may have heard of this before. And the idea is that you're restricting yourself from certain things for a certain amount of time, and then for whatever reason, you allow yourself to have that thing or some of those things or whatever for a period of time, or in a single instance, let's say. But then you go overboard and you end up binging on that thing, or you just overindulge. Sometimes this can be a cheat day. Sometimes it can just be a cheat meal. Other times it can turn into days or weeks. Because the next thing that happens is that we end up going completely off the rails, again, because of this punishment thing that is sort of implicit in dieting. So then, like, whenever you have that indulgence and you overdo it, because it's this forbidden fruit that you don't ever allow yourself to have because you're on a diet, then that kicks in this guilt and shame, right? So now you're feeling crappy because, oh, I went off my diet. I failed. I messed up, and it's all over now, and I might as well forget it, and I've blown it, and then we end up giving up. That's kind of the progression that can happen. The second thing about dieting, most diets are overly restrictive, making them unsustainable. And if something is unsustainable, it's pretty hard to make a healthy lifestyle from it. It's hard to maintain and sustain something that you find miserable, that leaves you feeling hungry, it leaves you feeling deprived, whatever it is. And there are hundreds of different diets out there, as I'm sure you're well aware, and they all claim to be the best thing and the most effective, and they all have empirical evidence behind them. If you really look into it, there's empirical evidence for low carb dieting, there's empirical evidence for intermittent fasting, there's empirical evidence for low fat dieting, calorie counting, everything, you name it. There's probably some study somewhere that you can find that supports, the results, the effect of the diet. And I just gave you a number of examples of these different types of diets, right? So we've all heard of these like different kinds of diets, and there's lots of extremes and other variations out there aside from, the more commonly known ones. But the problem is, the con to these is that they require very strict adherence, and they backfire quickly when you slip or slack on them. And this is inevitable because most of the time these diets create this extreme deficit that is very difficult to maintain. or other types of restrictions. Now, the worst example from this list, in my personal experience, is low carb. I would never recommend that diet to anyone under any circumstances. It is just yeah, it's quick. You will get results fast, but the second you start trying to eat like fruit, you blow up. I'm not even kidding. I had I experienced that firsthand, and I've experienced the other repercussions of a lot of these other diets firsthand as well, but nothing backfired on me as quickly and as drastically as low carb. When I finally, and somehow I willed myself to do low carb for 4 years. But I finally cracked. I finally got to where I couldn't stand it anymore, and that was the the result. So obviously I'm not a fan of these really restrictive diets, because again, I don't think they're sustainable long term. And if it's not sustainable long term, there's a risk of backfire. There's a risk of gaining the weight back. The third reason is that there's often an implied finite time frame for diet. So most of us will go into a diet with a focus on how much weight we want to lose and how quickly we want to lose it, which is how we kind of get into the trap with these other diets, because a lot of them will, offer fast results, and many of them will deliver on that. But the problem is that the results you get really quickly, you also lose the results pretty quickly when you go off of the diet. So that's one of the issues I have with them. And then the long-term sustainability is not usually, it's just usually an afterthought if it's thought of at all. Again, because we're coming into it with focus on, I want to lose weight. I can do this for 3 months. I can stick to this for 3 months and get the weight off. And then as if you just don't have to continue to maintain these efforts after the 3-month mark when you've reached your goal weight, theoretically, right? And that's not true. If you want to maintain the results you achieve, you have to maintain whatever you did to get them. So that's another reason I'm not really a big fan of the concept of dieting, because it's not a short-term thing. It's a lifestyle, and you have to be able to maintain and sustain it for life. So keeping that in mind, it's important to select something, whatever you end up choosing for yourself, that you believe you can follow for the rest of your life. If you want to maintain your results and your overall fitness and all of that. So over the course of 30 years, I've tried all the things, all the diets, you name it, I've done it, including supplements and fat burning pills and all the stuff. I've experienced everything that I just mentioned firsthand, in terms of things backfiring, the forbidden fruit trap, this mentality of like, oh, I'll lose the weight in 3 weeks and then like it'll all be great and I won't have to do anything anymore. So all of that stuff. And I've gained it back faster every time, and I have found it even harder to lose the weight again, with every different thing I tried. And the shortest answer I can give you for why this happens is hormones, right? If I just put it in a single word, that is the word I would give you. Obviously, it's more nuanced and there's more to it than that. But the bottom line is that doing these extreme deficit types of eating approaches, it basically messes with your hormones. All the hormones that are involved in your metabolism, in fat burning, and in appetite, they get out of whack. And then other hormones in your body will become more resistant to releasing body fat down the line. It will slow metabolism and all those sort of things happen. So in the long run, it just kind of compounds with every time that you try a different thing and you stick with it for a while, you get some results, and then you go back to maybe not being on the diet or whatever. So again, these are all things that I've experienced firsthand, and having tried all the different things, I can tell you there are 2 eating approaches that have stood out to me over the years, that have withstood the test of time, in my opinion, in my experience, that I continue to use to this day, because they are the most effective and they're sustainable long term. And you're going to get balanced nutrition with them. So you're going to also feel better. You're not going to be feeling like you're starving all the time doing these approaches. And so those 2 approaches are whole food, intuitive, clean eating, and macro tracking. Now, the reason that I have chosen these two, these are the two I recommend. Is first, they both involve a balanced diet that includes the three macronutrients that our bodies need to function, and those are protein, fat, and carbohydrate. Your body needs all three of these things, period. End of sentence, end of story. Number two, both of these approaches are flexible and they allow for a variety of foods, so that you're not really restricted. There's lots of flexibility, and there's ways to still enjoy things that you're eating, and getting a balanced diet, good nutrition, all of that. And then the third reason is that you can still enjoy many of the things that you love, and there's even room for some of these occasional indulgences and such, so that again you're not feeling like you can't ever have a piece of chocolate cake again in your life, or whatever it might be for you. There's ways to do that without derailing your progress and without like gaining weight, like a lot of us might think will happen when we have these foods that we've deemed as bad. When really it comes down to consistency and eating an overall balanced diet consistently over time. So over the past 8 years, this has been what has enabled me to stay on track and sustain a healthy lifestyle, with regard to the nutrition component of everything. So let's get into these eating approaches. So the first one is what I recommend, especially for getting I would recommend this to get started with your body transformation efforts. So if you're kind of starting over again, or starting a healthy lifestyle for the first time, and you're looking to transform your body in some way, whether it's weight loss, or maybe reshaping or recompositioning your body, this is the approach that I would recommend, which is the whole food intuitive eating. And this goes back a couple decades, actually. I have it somewhere, but I don't have it with me right here. But there's a couple women that actually developed the intuitive eating kind of approach. And the reason I recommend it is, first, if like me, you've tried numerous different diets, you might be out of touch with your body's signals. And you likely have unwittingly created some imbalance in the hormones that are involved in, things like appetite and metabolism. So this approach really helps with that. It helps kind of do a reset on that. And it helps you tune into your body's cues so that you start to learn how to kind of fuel your body, and what's the right amount to eat and how often you need to eat without feeling deprived, without feeling like, ravenous in between meals and things like that. So having covered this approach in depth in previous episodes and in my ebook, the Fit Phoenix 6-Week Slim Down, I'm not going to get into too much detail on it today, but I will just kind of give you a brief overview of what it looks like so you can get a sense of it and get kind of going with it. In this approach, your diet consists of lean protein sources. Okay, so that's one of the three macronutrients is protein. So you want, like when I say lean protein, we're talking like turkey breast, protein powder, Greek yogurt, chicken, fish, right? The second macronutrient is beneficial fats, right? So this is avocados, nuts, nut butters, extra virgin olive oil, other non-inflammatory oils. So think like maybe coconut oil, what's another one? Avocado oil, versus some of these other oils like vegetable oil, which is really soybean oil, or canola oil, which can be very inflammatory for the body. And the third macronutrient is carbohydrates. And so within that, you want to prioritize complex over simple carbohydrates. So it's not to say never eat simple carbohydrates, like never eat white rice. It's not that. But if you're prioritizing complex carbohydrates like brown rice, whole grain, high fiber pastas and breads, potatoes, sweet potatoes, fresh fruits and vegetables, you're going to get a lot more fiber in your diet, and that's going to help your overall metabolism. It's going to help keep you feeling fuller longer. It's going to help with your energy levels. So that's kind of the gist of the core food groups, if you will, that you want to be focusing on with the whole food intuitive eating approach. You include a balance of each of these in each meal. And you want to be eating between 3 to 6 times a day, again, as your appetite kind of dictates. which part of this is getting in tune with that and getting a sense of what that is for your body. A key element of this is learning your body's hunger cues and satiation cues, and so that you're better able to discern true hunger from things like thirst or boredom, and also eating to satiation or satisfaction. So again, it's like this is, mindful eating, paying attention when you're eating your meals, not being distracted when you're eating, and things like that. Hydration is also a really important component of this, mainly, so meaning drinking primarily water as opposed to other types of drinks. That's critical because water, is going to help with a lot of the other aspects of your metabolism. It's going to help you flush excess fat. It's going to help flush your system. But because a lot of times we confuse thirst for hunger, if you're well hydrated, that's going to help when you're learning to tune into your body's hunger and satiation cues under this approach. The second approach that I have found equally sustainable is macro tracking. And I've also done episodes on this approach, so I'm not going to go in depth on that today. But I will say with macro tracking, the idea is you're going to determine your maximum caloric intake for every day, right, day to day. And there's a whole formula and math around doing this, and you can find calculators for it online, free macro calculators that you can use online. And it takes things like your overall goal into account. So if you want to gain muscle, for example, versus if you're looking to lose fat. And then it's also going to take other things into account, like your sex, your activity level, your age. And then from here, your maximum calories are going to be broken down into target macro amounts for the three macros that we need every day, right? So you're going to have a target protein amount for every day, a target fat amount, and a target carbohydrate amount for every day. You can hit these targets however you want, meaning there isn't anything that's like off limits, as long as you hit your macros on point. So there's a saying, if it fits your macros, you can have it. This approach is, however, much more tedious than the first approach that I mentioned, as you might have guessed. You have to do the initial calculations to get your targets on point. So you have to be certain about your weight. You got to be right about, your body height. You will need to be honest and accurate about your activity levels and things like that. Otherwise, you could end up with your maximum calorie level being off. And then if that's off, your macro targets are going to be off. And if that's off, like, you just might not get results. So you got to do all those initial calculations to get all of that right. And then you're going to have your targets for every day, right? So you're going to get different targets based on all these different things. So for example, you might get like a target of 200 grams of carbohydrates every day, 148 grams of protein, and like 50 grams of fat, for example. I'm just making that up, but that's an example of what your targets might look like. So you need to try to eat that amount of each of those every day within 5 grams of the targets that you get. This approach also requires you to weigh and measure everything that you're eating. Otherwise, you're going to be off on your target. So literally, you have to, like, if you're going to have some rice and you want to allow for a cup of rice, you have to measure that cup of cooked rice exactly with a measuring cup. If you're going to eat a certain amount of chicken, you need to weigh the chicken so you know that you're eating 4 ounces of chicken and not 8 ounces of chicken, for example. I mean, it's not as simple as just tracking a chicken breast anymore, because some of these chicken breasts are like, they can easily be 8 to 10 ounces. So you need to know how much you're eating when you're doing the macro tracking approach. You also need to monitor your progress closely, because you're going to need to adjust your macros over time, right? Which is good, because if you're losing weight, if you're seeing progress in the direction you want to go, for example, then you're going to need to adjust them after a certain point. So the way it kind of works is, like, let's say you're following them for a while and you're getting progress every couple weeks. That's what they recommend, is doing the progress every couple weeks. And then if you don't see progress, like, so let's say it's been 2 weeks and you're stuck exactly where you were the 2 weeks previous, you continue for another 2 weeks. And if you're still not seeing any change in terms of body measurements or weight, then you need to look at, do I need to change my macros? And if you're continuing to see progress, you stick with your macros until you stop seeing progress. And that's the point at which you want to look at readjusting them, because as your weight goes up or down, you're going to need to adjust your macros so that you continue to make the progress in the direction that you want to go. Now, in my experience, it's been really helpful to add this approach after you've followed the intuitive eating approach for some time, because a lot of folks will get the results that they want from the first approach, and they may not need to really make any adjustments, because as you're tuning into your body, you're also like kind of almost subconsciously adjusting what you're doing in terms of how you're eating and how much you're eating. However, in my case, I got to a point after about, I guess it was about 8 months or so, where I kind of got stuck and I hit a stall. So that's when I actually introduced macro tracking for the first time, when I ran into that. And then I was able to like get some forward momentum again. So those are the two approaches that you can follow and get great results without going insane or feeling deprived or feeling like you're on some miserable diet that you're trying to will yourself through for 3 months to get, to a certain weight. And I will add that the secret to really making these work is to prepare your own food. I mean, that really is key. I know a lot of people may not want to do that, and it can feel time consuming, but there's ways to make that work. A little planning and preparation every week to kind of get yourself ready. And I've also done episodes with some tips about how to do that as well. Really go a long way. But there's just numerous benefits to preparing your own food, aside from, maybe having a weight loss goal. So I really highly recommend it, especially if you're going with the macro approach, because you never know. Sometimes there's things in the foods that we're not always sure about, and a lot of times labels are just inaccurate. So that's one thing. And the other thing about it is you can find ways to continue to eat things you really love by cooking your own food. This is what got me into cooking, was like being on some kind of diet for my whole life. So I got, really good at cooking and playing with recipes and swapping things out to make healthier, lighter versions of all of my, favorite foods over the years. So I've modified tons, hundreds of recipes over the years for all of my favorite foods, and continue to eat things that you typically wouldn't find or hear or think you could have on, a diet, and still get great results, because again, it's all about what you're using and following the foods I laid out before. So I've never felt like I can't still enjoy the foods that I love, and I don't really feel limited at all. Plus, I have 3 kids, so it makes it easier, because it's like, things everybody will eat and enjoy. You don't have to have some special food just for yourself because you're the only one, trying to lose weight or watch what you're eating or whatever. And it's beneficial for the whole family because you're eating healthy, balanced diet. So it's good for everyone. So I think it's a win-win all around. I've also learned how to order when eating out, to stay on track and still enjoy food. So again, if you are going out on occasion or whatever, there's ways to still stick to these 2 approaches I discussed here without going off track, without feeling deprived. You still be able to have dinner and drinks with your girlfriend or whatever it is, your family, go to the birthday celebrations, whatever the case may be. There's ways that you can still enjoy your food and what you're eating without within these guidelines. So again, it's just knowing the foods to follow and stick with and what works, and then you can easily find ways to swap it out, or you can find things on a menu with a couple tweaks that you can still be on track. And so there's ways to transform your body, improve your health, and boost your energy without being miserable on a diet. And it's all of this is also in my ebook. So grab a copy of that today. You will not regret it. The other thing that's in the ebook is things like a grocery shopping list and all of the guidelines, the detailed guidelines that I just walked through at a very high level here. So it gives you guidelines for how much protein you might want to target, how much fat you want to target, the sources of carbohydrates, and again, grocery shopping list, and different tools and resources that make it super easy for you to make your weekly meal planning. You can pick a day that is best for you to do your grocery shopping. So you can get everything taken care of, and you can, have everything planned out, and it just makes it so much easier and smoother. And then, of course, starting on September 12th, I'm kicking off a free 5-day challenge in my private Facebook group. And so I'm going to make it even easier for you, and I'm going to take a lot of this guesswork and thinking out of it for you. So all you have to do is follow the plan. Do your grocery shopping the weekend before we kick it off, and follow the plan for the week. And it's going to make things a lot easier. You'll see how easy it can be to integrate all of this into your day-to-day, integrate exercise, and you'll also find the benefit. You'll start to feel the difference when you do this for yourself. Just you'll feel better, you'll have more energy. So check that out as well. It's the Faith Fitness Joy private Facebook group. It's searchable and findable on Facebook. If you search in the search bar, I will also drop the link in the comments here. And there's also a post I put out too that has that information in it too. So that is it for today's episode, friends. We will continue this series next week, diving into exercise. So follow along with the series to start creating your healthy lifestyle today. And if you are just now catching the series, you might want to go back and re-listen to episode 134 from last Monday. Follow all the steps I laid out there, and then come back to this episode so you can catch up with the nutrition component. If you follow what I have laid out in the series and in my ebook, you will get results. I assure you. I have gotten great results for ladies in my free 30-day training program. It's all very much the same stuff that is built into this. It's the same things in my ebook. And I also know you'll get great results because I live by this, and I've been living by this for 8 years. And it works, and it's sustainable. So get started today, because you will thank yourself in a few months' time. Just think about where you want to be a few months from now. Do you want to be where you're at, or do you want to be in a better place with regard to your health and fitness? So click that link in the description or in the bio on my socials. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in today. And I will see you on Wednesday as we continue the Moving in Faith series here on the Faith Fitness Joy podcast. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and keep pursuing faith, fitness, and joy.